All right, all right. Hello, all you sports fans out there in podcast land, and welcome once again to another edition of Babbling Brooks, your new favorite podcast, where I, your host Brooks, try to bring you some of today's sports news with just a little twist of my point of view. Thanks for joining me once again today. Feeling a little better in the head, and not like quite as congested as it was yesterday. I've still got a little of the allergies going on, but it seems like the allergy medicine Publix brand taking effect. Took a while though. Still been sneezing off and on, but nothing like yesterday when it was like I literally would be talking for like a minute and I could just feel like the snot just dripping, running down my fucking face, and it was annoying the hell out of me. Couldn't really talk. So today I am here to talk to y'all more about. We'll briefly go over last night's another Braves loss to the terrible Cardinals, last place team in their division, the National League Central. Very disappointing year for the Cardinals. So honestly, I kind of feel like they're looking at this like this is their playoffs. They ain't officially eliminated, but they ain't going to the playoffs, unless they really get some things go their way. Like it's more of this is just like this is a team that seems to enjoy beating the Braves. Going back to when Marcell Ozuna was still a Cardinal back in 2019 when I was in the building, talked about it, coming into the series. Maybe I summoned the 2019 Demons, but that was the worst sporting event I'd been there in person for. When this whole stadium just in a state of shock when the Cardinals put up, was it 7 runs in that inning off of, was it Fulte pitching for us, I think? Not looking it up right now. I think it was, though. We were just all like in shock because that was like we had just won the division the previous year, 2008. Or was that the first year? 2018. I know we went to the playoffs. Dodgers, you get a little bit of a gentleman's sweep, like a 4-1 series win, whatever. But it was a return to the playoffs, and honestly, it was like I started watching the Braves, really watching the Braves again, 2017. I was going to like a game a year. When I saw Ozzy hit a triple, I was like, oh, we're back, his rookie year. Like, we're going to the playoffs next year. And at the time, it seemed ridiculous. And now, we've been to the playoffs every year since. But 2019, just had Acuna come up. We had Soroka, had his incredible all-star rookie season. And we were like feeling great. We're going to beat the shit out of these Cardinals. Like, we're going to sweep them. We're going to the World Series. And the Cardinals showed up with other plans in mind and just whooped us. It was ugly, too. I think that was when the pitcher with native ancestry, too, which I think there was one point where the fans, I felt like too much like they were going at him with the chop. Like, that was like the first time I was really, like, uncomfortable with the chop. But I still kind of go back and forth, honestly. Like, because sometimes it'll like seem terrible, and other times it feels okay. Like I don't know like what exactly the answer is. I know the Braves need to make sure if they're going to maintain the same name, they need to make sure to work on building relationships with native groups. I don't know how that would work exactly because obviously some groups are always going to dislike the name, and I can't really blame them in some ways. But I also feel like the Braves is not like as openly like racist as the Washington Redskins, where that was literally like the skin color. Not that like saying it was necessarily racist, but like you could see that being like, wow, how did that end up being the name of the team for so many years? And then the Indians has always been like a term that natives have obviously not liked because it was the early misnomer, Columbus thinking he had reached the Indies when he had not. He was in what ended up being, the West Indies, I guess. But either way, so I understand Cleveland changing. And honestly, like, I think I could live with the Braves name changing. I mean, it probably will happen eventually. You see all the different teams, like, in the system changing. Gwinnett's the Stripers. Is it Rome or Macon? One of the two is changing. I can't remember what two, but I saw another one of the minor league teams going through a rebranding. And that's not totally new. A lot of minor league teams don't necessarily always have the designation of the team. There's especially in Double A and Triple A. There's historically been more variety. Was it the Greensboro team? Was the Bats? It was the Yankees when I was a kid. Their High A team. Because I remember going to see the Fayetteville Generals, who was the Tigers team in that whichever league it was. Honestly, I can't remember. I just remember my granddad lived in Greensboro, so we went and saw this pitcher who I'd become a pen pal with, Cam Smith. He pitched for the Bristol Tigers, and that was the rookie league team in my hometown at the time. It was eventually the White Sox, and now it's an unaffiliated league that the Appalachian, still the same name for the league, I believe, the Appalachian League, but the teams are not, they're all independent as part of the minor league restructuring. Because there used to be multiple, the 2 levels of rookie ball, where it would be the low rookie would pretty much be at the spring training sites in Florida and Arizona. And then high rookie would be the Appalachian League, and there was another league somewhere out west. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember. But that was my early baseball baptism, was going to Bristol Tigers games and fighting for foul balls on the hill behind the third base stands. Watching, looking at girls as I aged through puberty. And then it was the White Sox. Some of the girls I was looking at were fucking the players by that point. Once I got to the end of high school. Because, they were young like us too. But, still, I'd like to go to they still have that stadium there. That it's also the stadium for the city high school, our sort of rival. A little bit. Even though they beat us in those sports pretty regularly. That's a whole other thing. Either way, I was trying to remember where I was going with all that. That was an opening babble that just kept going. Oh yeah, the name change, the Braves. So that Cardinals series, it was one of those times where it really felt like it turned. I wish I could remember that pitcher's name. My phone's being too annoying, and I didn't do any notes today because I guess my carpal tunnel is just acting up. So I'm trying not to do any extra writing. I tried to write some notes down from a book I was reading. Oh, I want to remember this. This is interesting. And then just wrote a couple pages worth of shit, and I was like, oh great, my hand is fucking killing me. Fun stuff, aging in modern times. I'm sure there's something I can do about it. Try to do some of the little exercises they show. But regardless, the Braves, like I said, that's going to be the first thing we talk about. Last night's loss, Game 2 of this series, opening up a home stretch against the Cardinals. We got one more opportunity to not get swept. Hopefully that happens. And then I'm going to try to spend the bulk of the episode doing a little bit of a NFL / Panthers preview, talking about some football. It'll be fun because, like I said, no notes. Just kind of using my phone and my big old brain, baby. But yeah, let's talk about this Braves loss first, then we'll get into some Panthers shit. The Braves won their 90th game, and they're still sitting there, 90-48 now. 3 straight losses after, great into that Dodgers, going into that last game, winning the first 3 of the Dodger series, coming home after going 8-2 on the road, and now we've already lost 2 games into this homestand, as many games as we lost in that entire trip out west, which of course included 4 games in Los Angeles, going up against the Dodgers, the next best team in the National League. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of it, like I mentioned, I think this is I don't know if the Cardinals, I don't like to think that the Braves really slept on them necessarily, because this is the last place team. Because having watched how this team plays, and they've slipped up against lesser teams, the Athletics when we went out west, and Pirates surprised us last time they came to Atlanta in a couple games. I don't know if it's necessarily underestimating them as so much as the Braves playing down to what could be seen as lesser competition, so much as I think it's these teams playing up to the Braves, because they know they're going against the best. And when you're a team, especially the Cardinals, who ain't even in the wild card race really, the record 61-78 even after the win. They had less than 60 wins coming into this series. And there's a little bit of, not bad blood, but there's some history between these clubs, it feels like, going back, 2019, and just battles over the years in general. And I think this is their playoffs. When they play good teams, probably going to try to do the same shit with the Dodgers. But, you have that, like, recent kind of rivalry-ish vibes to it. And, like I said, a team that has not much else to play for. It's been a terrible season for these Cardinals. They got Wilson Contreras, brother William, who ended up getting traded to the Brewers, and the trade that brought us Sean Murphy. But his brother, the elder Contreras, going to the Cardinals, and a great year was expected, but just never really happened. And just overall, it's been a very disappointing season. One of those three most disappointing teams in the National League, along with the Padres, of course. But the Padres still technically in it, and then of course the Mets. These are technically in it, but it's unlikely that they're going to end up in a wild card spot. So I think, I'm not going to get too concerned about this, even though you hate to see, of course, Michael Soroka, his season now over with an injury. That's official. I figured it would be, just getting any sort of injury this time of the year, the way things have gone for him. It's not like you really have time to work him back in. And it's nothing serious, so that's some good news. I did read that he's not going to need surgery, but they're just going to give him the rest of the season off, so he doesn't have to worry about coming back for this season, because it probably wasn't going to happen anyway. And that'll just give him like the opportunity to focus on just getting better. Whenever the numbness, whatever it is, goes away, and then he can start having, like I mentioned yesterday, like a full off season to really get himself prepared for next year. And maybe a less yo-yo thing. I think that was one of the things that hurt him. But it just sucks to see him actually get hurt right after he seemed like he was turning the corner. Winning the Player of the Month for the International League, like in that the league that has the Gwinnett Stripers in it, and that was very promising. So for him to and then he comes out 1-2-3 first inning, and then just see it all fall apart from there. But the Braves still fought back and tried to win that one. And then we had Spencer Strider. It seemed like, hey, he's got 16 wins, league leader in wins right now, and you feel pretty good about him on the mound. We talked about that. It was like, hey, Soroka hadn't been able to get all the way healthy. He was hurt. But now we got Strider. We got Max on the mound. We should feel pretty good. Still feel pretty good about Max on the mound tonight. Mostly just because I feel like there's no way this team allows a team to come in and sweep us at home right now. I just don't see that happening. But I wouldn't have seen us losing these two games like we did. Spencer Strider getting chased in the third inning, 2 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, 3 walks to only 5 strikeouts. Fairness, he only faced 8 hitters, but still, that's concerning. He just couldn't figure it out. You can tell he's frustrated with himself since it's happened a few more times than it should have. Had the extra run support last time against Los Angeles, or it might have been a loss otherwise. But at the same time, that was Los Angeles, And even then, the Cardinals may be last in their division, but they're still a Major League Baseball team. And that cannot be forgotten. And just a team that just gives us fucking trouble, to be honest. But even with the loss, Spencer Strider is still 16-5. I feel pretty confident he'll be able to bounce back. However, this probably definitely not going to help his campaign, if you would call it that, for the National League Cy Young Award. Because he's looked like a potential Cy Young candidate a lot of times this year. And he does still lead the league in strikeouts by a lot. The last Brave to lead the National League in strikeouts was John Smoltz, who won the National League Cy Young that year. So but with the way lower ERAs from the other guys that are in contention right now, like Blake Snell, I believe is the main other name, like Strider's going to have to drive that ERA down over his next couple starts. He's sitting at 3.83 right now, which, not terrible, especially just the way he's able to get guys. Sometimes it can be hard, but, to keep a low ERA while you're striking out a bunch of guys, because especially when you do it the way Spencer Strider does with that heat, because that can sometimes turn around on you. That fastball, it can be good because they're going to miss it a lot because it's coming at them fast, but if they do connect, just all that kinetic energy can lead to some runs, can lead to some big hits. And Strider gave up one of the 4 homers. That normally the Braves are the homer hitting team, and we're hitting a sum. We did match them. Both teams had 4 homers in game 1, and this one the Braves only had 2 homers, but the Cardinals 4 homers in back-to-back games. And like I said, I don't see this so much as us playing down. I really do believe, and maybe I'm just a fan looking through rose-colored glasses, but I think this is more about the Cardinals playing up. And while it's not like making you feel great about the team, I don't think it's something, these 2 losses, like that should make us like, oh no, like are we like doomed kind of thing. Because you would rather have these losses now and kind of get them out the way so you can expose some of your flaws as a team. And you still got some time to work them out. We got, almost a whole other month of regular season baseball, 3 more weeks at least. So there's some time to figure this shit out. And I do believe we'll bounce back, which I thought we would in this game, and it didn't happen. The Cardinals just, having a really good series so far. Gorman has 3 homers in 2 games right now. And he was the one that really put it away, because I really thought the Braves were going to come back and win this game. Because even though we went down 6-0 by the 3rd inning, because Spencer, man, he didn't get it out until the 5th guy, and that was as a run scored to make it. Yeah, made it 3-0 right then. Because they had walked. Never a good walk in the first guy. That's I always feel real. That's like a bad omen. Just setting the wrong tone. So the opening guy walks, the next guy Goldschmidt knocks it out the park. So 2 hitters in, you're down 2-0. And then they add on the 3rd run. And before the inning's over, they are up 4-0. And they added on 2 more runs. And the Braves, the good news is it was just the 3rd inning. So that gives you a little bit of hope at least. As a Braves fan, 6 runs is not insurmountable. For a lot of teams, you're pretty much, done at that point. But not this team, not these Braves, not our beloved Bravos. They did mount, a pretty decent comeback. Ozuna, RBI double, sending in Matt Olson. Arcia sending a run in. Marcel scoring on the fielder's choice. So the Braves get 2 back. Of course, the Cardinals did answer in the top of the 6th inning to make it with a solo shot by Mr. Wynn. So that's a 5-run game again, but the Braves coming right back in the 6th. Matt Olson homering, 3 games in a row? After going a pretty decent amount of time without hitting a dinger, the lead leaguer is on fire. Matt Olson hits another one out the park. Michael Harris II sends in Murphy and Rosario with on the bases loaded RBI single. And just like that, the Braves are within 2 runs. You're starting to like your chances. 7th inning, Wilson Contreras, I almost said William because I'm so used to watching William, hits a home run, but at least it's a solo shot. So Braves are still in this. 3 runs with 3 more chances at the plate. The way this team can score, you believe in those odds. You're not wrong to. Bottom of the 7th, home run for home run. Here comes Austin Riley. 420-foot home run. It's number 34 on the season after Matt Olson hit number 46 in the previous inning. So not able to go back-to-back, but back-to-back innings. So you'll take it. You'll take it. But it wasn't to be because the Cardinals came up top of the 8th inning. And as soon as they hit this, it's oh no. 3-run homer. And this late in the game, there's a big difference in 8-6, 8-6, and 11-6. And that was when I was oh no. I still try to watch it. I gave up on the stream. All the streams are being annoying. We have to reset it every minute, and then it would just stop again. So I just put on the MLB package. Through the MLB network has the big inning thing that's usually a couple hours. It said it was supposed to be from 8 to 10:30, but it was more 8:30 to 10:30. But at least they would have the Braves on in the corner, and at some points they would come on they would put audio on for that, especially like in the big innings. So I was able to get it, hence the name. But sometimes I'm like, why are y'all featuring this inning when the Braves are playing right now? It would be like some like dumb inning that didn't make any sense. I'm like, it's the 6th inning in a blowout. What are you doing? Yeah, so the Braves coming up in the 8th. They had to answer because they had done what they needed to do, kept trimming the deficit, answering, when the Cardinals would have another homer. But then the Cardinals, man, when they scored the 3-run homer to make it a 5-run game, going into the last 6 outs for the Braves, it was like, okay, this is probably over. Especially when, Murphy flied out, Arcia fouled out, Michael Harris the second grounded out. And then saying, looked good, bottom of the 9th. Acuna, even though it's 5 runs, it's still our Braves. Like, we know how they can score, especially when you've got Acuna, Albies, and Riley coming to the plate. It wasn't to be on this night. Acuna did start it out with a single, his first hit since he had the homer, his 3-homer streak. We had 3 different, homer 3 games in a row, including the record history-making grand slam that made him the first 30-60 player in Major League Baseball history. So he's on base, his first hit of the game, first hit of the series. But then immediately Ozzie Albies grounds into a double play. So you come up instead of Austin Riley coming up with 1, maybe 2 guys on base, he comes up with nobody on base, and he does nothing. Strikes out, game over. But hey, you literally can't win them all. There's 162 games. And like I said, I'd rather, the Cardinals do it to us now than do it like they did in 2019 in the playoffs. Or like the Phillies did to us last year. Not quite as heartbreaking as it was when it was the Cardinals, and it wasn't like as brutal or as devastating. But still losing, getting upset in the wild card, by the wild card team Phillies was not great. So maybe this gives the team a chance to work out some of this. And I think, like I've said multiple times, this is the Cardinals playing up because they know. I mean, they got some talented guys. Just because they've had a shitty season doesn't mean they can't play baseball. Especially when you got Wilson Contreras. He can throw a stick. He can swing a stick. He was 2 of 4, 3 RBI in this one. Braves just not able to get it done. I was surprised to see Darius Vines pitch some in relief. Thought maybe he would get one of the starts, maybe like the last game of the Pittsburgh series when they come to town. But looking like maybe because of the time of the year, like when you're not necessarily going to be looking for a full rotation, and that more than likely if they're going to use him in the playoffs, it's going to be as a reliever. You're probably not going to be someone that you have start a playoff game. I'm not saying he might not start a game here or there, especially the Braves maybe end up doing a bullpen game somewhere down the stretch before we get to the playoffs. Just trying to see what he could do. And he pitched a couple innings, struck out a couple guys, did give up a home run, but that was his only earned run. He gave up 2 hits. So, 6 outs, 2 hits, and a walk, not terrible. And, it's definitely somebody I believe could get a chance. And this was his home debut because his start was on the road. So good for him getting the chance. After doing so good, a historic Coors Field debut where normally guys get lit up. He did a pretty damn good job. And looking like maybe could be an extra arm in the bullpen. Because, like I said, at first, he'd be brought in as a pitcher. But some of that I'm wondering if is factored in Kyle Wright. Probably only going to need 1 more start. Or they said at least 1. But if that 1 goes well, they'll probably go ahead and bring him into the rotation. And he would be the 5th guy. And you're not necessarily going to need 5 starting pitchers for much longer. Because with the playoffs, you get all those days off in between a lot of games. So you can change up how things go. And some teams go with 3 or 4. More than likely, we'd have the 4 starting pitchers. It'd be, Max, Spencer, and Charlie in some various order. And then, of course, like Bryce Elder is like the 4th option. Maybe Kyle Wright, if he can get back. You could have either one of those guys. But I'm still doubtful to see what we can really get out of Kyle Wright. because I'd kind of given up on his season because there was so much time. It felt like in between him like getting hurt and actually really get his throwing program going again. But the results so far have been encouraging, so I could be proven wrong, and I'm totally cool with that because it's easy to forget with everything that's happened this year. He was the only 20-game winner last year. He had 21 last season, not just for the Braves, but in Major League Baseball. And the Braves is rare, too. Like, they were winning most of their games. Normally they win games. They score 5 runs or more. But back-to-back games where it just wasn't enough. And you're going to have those turns. We had that turn through the rotation. Started in Chicago after Max came back and did really great his first start back. Then it was like everybody struggled after that for like a week. So hopefully we're not going to have all the way through the rotation. Hopefully Max Fried can get things right tonight. Because I wouldn't be like worried per se. I would be slightly concerned seeing the Braves get swept by anybody at home, especially a last place team. So hopefully Max can kind of get things right tonight. Because 2 losses, out of 3 is like whatever. Yeah, you would like to win is every series at home, but you literally can't win them all in this game. Like that's one of my slogans, I guess. Also, pitching in relief in this one other than Darius Vines, because we had to use a lot of guys after Strider couldn't make it out the third. Ben Heller finished the third, then pitched the fourth. Had Darius Vines pitching more innings than anyone but Spencer in this one for the Braves. This 2 innings. Then Joe doing an inning, gave up a run. Dylan Lee gave up a couple runs. Everybody but Heller and Hand gave up home runs pitching-wise for the Braves. But they all only gave up 1. So I guess that's slightly encouraging, but, not great. So hopefully Max gets us right tonight. And most of the guys getting the hits. Cunha 1 of 5. Even with the struggles the last couple games, he's still hitting .330. Ozzie 0 of 5 in this one after having a homer the previous game. .269 average for him on the year. Austin Riley 1 of 4, hitting .274. His only RBIs that only hit that 1 home run. Matt Olson, though, 3 of 4, scoring twice. Of course, had the RBI on the solo home run. Great to see him getting hot. I mean, that whole stretch of the lineup. Olson, 3 of 4. Ozuna, 2 of 3. Rosario, 2 of 3. And Murphy was 0 of 1, but he got walked 3 times. 2 times to load the bases. And that was kind of where we missed some opportunities. The Braves, 2 of 7 runners in scoring position. Arcia had 2 opportunities, 0 for 2. But one time he got an RBI on the fielder's choice. But he ended up being 0 for 4. Harris 1 of 4, but he had 2 RBI, bases loaded single. So there's some good things to take away. Murphy really gets a lot of walks, and he's kind of got slept on because you're like, no wonder he can't really hit home runs. He's getting 2 to 3 walks a game. Scared to pitch it to him. And that's a good sign. But I believe we'll bounce back tonight. Max, the magnificent one on the mound. Then Pittsburgh comes to town tomorrow for a 3-game series before the Braves head up for 4 games in Philadelphia, including a double header on 9/11. So watch out. Stay out. No, better not make a Twin Towers joke for the Twin Bill. But regardless, Braves, disappointing start to this series. It sucks they're going to lose the series, but I do believe tonight they're going to avoid the sweep. Now, I meant to actually talk less about the Braves, but how challenging that can be for me. Once I start talking about the Braves, I'm just going to talk about the Braves. But hey, man, it is almost football season, and I have been slacking on that between the job change and just different stuff going on, being generally tired sometimes. Haven't really been able to dive deep into the Panthers. Still waiting on some good news. Hopefully giving Brian Burns some money. I mean, it's already good news that he was suited up and at practice yesterday, participating, not listed on the injury report. Because Brian Burns, that makes the team totally different. That's why I wasn't really too concerned about all the points we gave up in preseason. Because a lot of those are the backups. Especially when Brian Burns just makes this team a totally different beast. That's why he's number 0, because ain't none like him. And the Panthers need to pay the man. I'm hoping things can move in that direction, because I believe part of the issue was sort of waiting on the market to be set with the Nick Bosa deal. I was like, wait, am I saying the right Bosa? I'm like, yeah, Nick's the San Fran one. And they reached a deal, making him the highest paid non-quarterback ever. I think it's an average of, comes out to about $34 million. So surpassing Aaron Darnold. And Brian Burns, obviously, probably he'd like to get paid close to Bosa, but Bosa's won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. So he's not going to get that kind of money, but he wants to. I think what I'd read before was the Panthers were closer to $23 million and he was closer to $30 million. And I think go ahead and give him $30 million. I mean, yeah, Bosa's making more, that way. Not going to be as high as Bosa's, but it needs to be like more than $17 million. You can't blame him for wanting to play under more money. Like football, you literally put your body on the line every time you're out there, one way or another, offense or defense. And this team, they turned down one of those was like a 3 first-round pick trade offer for Brian Burns. Like, obviously, you see him as the future. Like, pay the damn man, Tepper. Whatever the GM's name is, I always forget, Kevin something in it. But either way, it's like, pay him. Because, like, he can make this team totally different. Like, he really could end up thriving in this 3-4. Like, a lot of people think he could match potentially the all-time team record of 15 sacks in a season. He had 12 and a half last year. It was the first time he had double digits. I think he will. My prediction for Brian Burns is 13 sacks or more. I think he'll have at least 13. I think he's going to surpass last year. So go ahead and pay the man, because I don't think the price is not going to go down, Panthers. It's going to go up. And this is a piece you do not want to miss on this defense, because that's going to be all eyes on the defense. In Atlanta, the Falcons got some guys that can run the ball. Bijan Robinson, a lot of people talking about him, potential NFL Rookie of the Year. He's got that kind of talent as a running back coming out of Texas. Actually, I saw part of an interview with him. It was like, talking about Matthew McConaughey. He seems like a pretty interesting guy too, like a fun guy to talk with. But like he's super talented, and the Panthers sometimes have struggled with that run defense, and they're going to have to go up against Bijan Robinson, and remember Cordell Patterson, what he was able to do last year before some injuries there for the Falcons, kind of doing that Swiss Army knife, kind of Debo Samuel role, wide receiver that can run, and then end up being mostly a running back. But he gets the ball, and he's fast, and they can apply a little trickery. And I honestly believe Desmond Ridder is going to potentially take a big step forward for the Falcons. He's not talked about a lot. A lot of people are like, oh, is he really good enough to do anything? But if you watched him play last year, every game he played in down the stretch when he ended up replacing, was it Marcus Mariota? Like, he looked better like each game. Like, it was a notice improvement. And he was one of those guys after the draft. A lot of people were saying the Falcons might have got the best quarterback in that draft, like long term. Just wasn't a very flashy guy. So that could be interesting. And the Panthers and the Falcons, a lot of times they split it home and home. Is the common way. You don't see a lot of sweeps in this one. And I did see the Panthers win a game in the Georgia Dome once. That was really cool. I got free tickets. I saw Cam go off, on the Falcons unexpectedly. And I saw Cam almost engineer a comeback in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium once, but it came up short. So I think we got a chance. This team is probably not going to the Super Bowl, but and even winning the division would be tough, but I don't see us being last place like a lot of people are saying. I think this team legitimately has a chance at a winning record. Probably not, going to run away with it. My total prediction would be somewhere between 7 and 10. Obviously, it's a rebuilding team. It could go worse. But just looking at the schedule, there's some opportunities here for this team. And this division, in my opinion, post-Tom Brady, post-Drew Brees, I think it's wide open. A lot of people giving the Saints the best odds because, they do have Derek Carr, who's put up some really good numbers in Oakland with the Raiders and now Vegas. but he hasn't really been able to win. Some of that probably a dysfunctional team that he's been stuck with. But is he really going to be like that big a difference? And a lot of that will depend, I guess, on Alvin Kamara and all these other various pieces that they have there, in New Orleans. And we'll see, though, because they're coming to Charlotte week 2. Definitely going to be watching that game. I'm not going to be able to watch a lot of games this year, but I will be able to watch week 2 and week 3, too. Week 3 is a 4 o'clock game, so I'll be able to watch at least part of that one. I'm home by 6, so I'll be able to watch part of that one. But all the 1 o'clock Sunday games, I'm not going to be watching. So I'm going to go by one on the games in a minute, but first I'm just sort of talking about the Panthers' challenge coming into Atlanta. But I honestly don't give us a chance. I think we lose without Brian Burns, but it's looking like he's going to play. The fact that he was in practice, and Burns, I think he's wanting to make a statement, but not necessarily miss action. I think that's different. I'm not saying that would be wrong of him. Everybody got to make their own decisions, but just from what I've read, it seems most people think he's going to play, and that's my hope too, and my prediction, I guess. But mostly my hope. Hopefully it happens, because like I said, this team is not the same without him. But you have him. Then in the secondary, another guy we really need healthy, J.C. Horn. Like you say, he don't really have any numbers, goals. Like, I just want to play. I just want to be healthy. And, he's so good. Like, I thought he looked like a potential rookie of the year a couple of years ago. Ended up hurt with an ankle or foot injury. Then last year had the wrist, I believe it was, and got his season cut short. But if we can have him and Dante Jackson healthy, C.J. Henderson able to, step up and show some of his potential as well. Like, we could have some damn good cornerbacks. We got Von Bell coming over as a safety that's going to free up Jeremy Chin. Last year, as a safety, I'm not saying he regressed, but not quite like as impressive, as he really showed some brilliant flashes like his rookie year when he was kind of playing more of a hybrid role, and looking like that's more of what he'll be doing. Some of that linebacker / safety stuff like he did in college, and like we were excited about when we drafted him. And I just think, Steve Wilkes was a great defensive coach. But there was also, it was the most of the season, the design for the team, everything was, the Baylor guy. The guy that came in with Matt Rule, of course. And then, and Vero Nerjo, coming in from Denver, where he was their coordinator, and somebody that we interviewed and other teams interviewed to be their potential head coach. So what's so important about this team, not just the players they have, but the coaching staff they put together. Having Vero Nerjo on the defensive side, Thomas Brown coming over from working there with Sean McVay with the Rams on the offensive side. I think both of those guys are potential head coaches in the future. And hopefully we can get a couple good years out of them first. But having those guys, and then on offense, you got Jim Caldwell as a special assistant, probably could still be a head coach. Dom Capers, the first head coach in Panthers history, is just pretty much an assistant, advisor coach on the defensive side, something he had done previously with Enerjo, so they've got that relationship. And I'm curious to see how this 3-4 works out. Burns, got Justin Houston looking like he could be, really good. We're going to need him to step up with Marquise Haynes heading to the injured list, so he's going to be off for or injured reserve, so he'll be off for at least the first 4 weeks. Be without him. So that'll be a chance for, Yetter Gross-Matos. A lot of people, saying he has not lived up to expectations. It's probably a little bit unfair. Probably hadn't maybe gotten the right opportunities consistently. But he could get a chance, because Houston isn't necessarily going to be playing every play, and Brian Burns is going to need some help. So Gross-Matos, and a guy I've been talking about since his rookie year last year, Amer Barno. Keep an eye on this kid, especially early on with Haynes out. I think he showed some flashes of that speed that I've been telling y'all about with him. Look out. Amer Barno is my breakout player to watch out for on defense. He's definitely going to get some work on special teams, but I think early on he could get the occasional look here in the rotation. And with that extra burst of speed he has, that's somebody that could make a splash, however you want to say it. So I'm excited about his potential. And like I said, I think Gross-Matos, he has shown flashes of some greatness. and hopefully he can bring that. And Justin Houston, I think, going to be a big move, but Brian Burns being in that lineup is going to be the most important thing. And then having Derek Brown, how is he going to look? In this, like a lot of people think he's primed to take a big step in this season, and maybe getting a little bit of work on the edge could be good for him. He's going to be an important piece of trying to limit the damage that Cordell Patterson and Bijan Robinson and the third guy whose name I can't remember. They can, that just because I can't remember his name doesn't mean he can't do some damage. And then it's easy, because everybody's talking about how, Desmond Ridder's not very good, but he also, like I said, he's improved every game he played in, and he's got Kyle Pitts to throw the ball to. And that kid Drake London broke out a little bit as a receiver for them last year. So they've got some weapons. Like they do, and they'll be the home team. And for at least one game, Falcons fans will be fired up, mostly because they think they have a chance to win it. And they, once they lose, though, the Falcons fans will pretty much stop caring because they're terrible fans. Sorry, y'all, they just are. Not all of you, you're a good one, but a lot of y'all will be like, rooting for the Rams again a couple weeks in, like the last couple seasons. Like, oops, Rams fan, Matthew Stafford. Just find a Georgia quarterback to root for. Because at least you have that going for you in Georgia football. The Falcons may not be great, but the Dogs, back-to-back champions, maybe they can win another one if they can, stop getting so many damn speeding tickets. It's like, slow down. But regardless, that's a whole other podcast. But the big concern that will really take this game to another level, because the defense obviously will be very, very important. But what's going to be even more important potentially is, are we going to be able to protect our potential Rookie of the Year candidate? A lot of people talking about Bijan Robinson, but Bryce Young could very easily put his, not easily, but you know what I mean, like figuratively easily, could put his name in that conversation as well if he can, get off to a good start. And the key thing with that will be blocking, because he wasn't getting that much blocking. That wasn't getting blocked very well for in the preseason. But that's the preseason, kind of working on some stuff. And he's gonna have, rookie. One of the guys predicting will be a rookie out of North Carolina State, and the other key guy is going to be a second-year guy out of North Carolina State. Of course, Ike McConleu was one of our top draft picks. Was our top draft pick last year, and had a lot of potential. There were some moments where he looked like a rookie because he was a rookie. But, even in the preseason, there were some concerning moments. But I still think, he's still growing, still, working on it. And I think he can step up. And we're going to need him to. Because Bryce Young took those hits okay in the preseason, but you don't want to see him getting hit that often, like every game. Because the hits are going to be, the hits are harder. Yeah, there were some hits, that were kind of hard. Adam Thielen took a couple. Not saying those were soft hits on Bryce Young either in the preseason, but everybody knows the hits get at least a little harder, sometimes a lot harder in the regular season, because there ain't no holding back other than just trying not to get penalties. And, as a Panthers quarterback, you can't trust on those penalties. Look how long Cam Newton went in between. It was when he went 2-3 years without getting one roughing the passer call, when the league was exponentially calling way more of those just because he was a big guy. So maybe that won't hurt us as much this time, because Bryce Young at least is obviously not as big as Cam Newton. Very few people are, especially quarterbacks. And Bryce Young though could have a chance. If he can get some blocking. Chandler Zavala was the surprise starter on the other side. And had to switch up his sides a little bit from college. So there's going to be some growing pains, but we need those two NC State guys to really step up. Austin Corbett going to be coming back from injury. And our offensive line was a strength down the stretch last year. That's why Sam Darnold, looked good enough to get himself a chance out there in San Fran. Because once he actually got some blocking, he looked okay. That makes you a lot better. All this talk about who's Bryce Young going to throw the ball to ain't going to matter if he's getting sacked every damn play. If he's just forcing the ball out every time, you're going to have a lot of incompletions and some interceptions. Obviously, you're going to have some eventually, but I like what I saw from Bryce Young, though. So as long as we can get him some blocking, and I think we're able to build up the run game. Miles Sanders was not able to play in the preseason. He is totally cured of his groin injury now, so he's ready to go, taken off the injury report. So he's going to be playing. So I think that makes things different for this team, especially his ability to not only run it out the backfield, but to catch the ball. So it gives him an extra option, which he might need, because we do have some receivers on the injury report, including Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Terrace Marshall Jr. I would expect Thielen definitely to play. The other two I'm a little less sure about. I think, Jonathan Mingo is going to be somebody to watch. Rookie wide receiver coming in with Bryce Young. They've been looking to build that chemistry since rookie camp. And Mingo has been in some ways compared to Deebo Samuel, not just because of the O in their names, because he is very versatile. He, great runner, runs like a running back once he catches the ball. A lot of times got some good hands, not scared to fight for it. And obviously there'll be some growing pains with him because, when you're new at anything, you're not going to be the best right away. You're going to have even the best players make mistakes that have been doing it for 20 years. So obviously there's going to be some rookie moments. But I think Jonathan Mingo could have himself, a very good season, and he could be a big part of a potential Rookie of the Year campaign for Bryce Young, and obviously the veteran Adam Thielen too. DJ Chark, is an explosive player down the field if we can get him to stay healthy, and Terrace Marshall Jr. Hasn't really had a great opportunity. And this offense is going to look a lot better, too. I mean, guys like Laviska Shenault Jr. Had some flashes last year, but it felt like they didn't really know what to do with him. I think if there are some injuries, if there ends up being, Chark has to miss some time or Marshall misses a game, Laviska Shenault Jr., I think, is a guy that could make some noise. He's super talented, one of those receivers, a really big, strong receiver that can run the ball well. That's why he had a couple plays out the backfield. They went for big yards last year. And I think we've got way better offensive minds in the building this time with Thomas Brown being under Sean McVay. So his own twist on some of that. Already mentioned Jim Caldwell. Of course, the head coach is Frank Reich, who a former NFL quarterback, spent some time there with the Eagles. So he's got some ideas too about offense. And I just think Ben McAdoo wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be offensive coordinator-wise, but it wasn't great. Ben McAdoo is not an innovative offensive mind in any way. He's a decent offensive coach. That's it. He's a character, like a joke almost. I remember when he was the head coach of the Giants. I'm like, is this a real person or just like a joke meme come to life? So let's see though. So Laviska Shenault Jr. I think potentially could have some big moments. I think he maybe gets an opportunity, especially with some of these injuries. But some of these guys will end up playing. I think Thielen gonna get a lot of catches. Mingo gonna get a lot of looks just because Bryce Young started throwing to him before he started throwing a lot of these veterans. Due to both of them being at rookie camp. Just needs to get some time. Needs to get some blocking. I think a lot of that will be the success of the run game. Miles Sanders, of course, Chuba Hubbard be the number 2 guy. And you can't sleep on, do not forget about another fast second-year guy out of Virginia Tech, just like Amir Barno. You got Raheem Blackshear. He had, been competing mostly here, talked about when it comes to returning the ball. But I think in today's game, you don't necessarily, 2 running backs isn't necessarily going to be enough. Usually you need that third guy, especially if he's fast, put him out there, for a change of pace, give somebody a breather. So I think he is somebody that could have some good games. But Miles Sanders is going to be ready to show, people will be sleeping on that free agent signing for the most part. People doubting him, getting away from the Eagles system. I think he's going to be hungry to prove that. And I don't know. I'd like to see us win this first game, but it's gonna be tough doing it on the road. And apparently, I didn't realize this. I was reading the last number 1 pick to win their first start in the NFL was 2002, the year that I graduated from high school, 21 years ago. It was David Carr. the guy who ended up being a Panthers quarterback after Delhomme got hurt for like a year, I think, for a few games 1 year. So it's been a while. So the odds not in Bryce Young's favor, but I mean, every streak like that has to end eventually, right? I mean, that's what I think. So maybe this is when we do it. The Falcons, our team that's not like unbeatable. Does kill me some of these teams that we're going to win like 6 games. I'm like, have you looked at our schedule? I mean, more than likely we split against the Falcons just because that seems to be how things go. But that doesn't mean we can't surprise them, And then week 2, the Saints, Monday Night Football in Charlotte, the home opener. Like, I think we get a win there. So even if we lose to the Falcons, and I'm not sold on the fact that we lose to the Falcons. I think Bryce Young very well could make history. I just know normally that number 1 pick loses, and a lot of times the Panthers have struggled with beating the Falcons more than once, especially beating them on the road, beating them in their home. And then the Panthers go to Seattle. That's going to be a tough one. I'm going to watch that one. The way Geno Smith came out last year, he won't come out this year and show he was not a one-hit wonder. And that's always been a tough matchup for the Panthers, especially on the road. 13th man, 12th man, they talk a lot about there. So that's probably not going to be a win like that early in his career. But I still think we'll win one of the first 2 for sure. And then the Vikings coming to Charlotte. That could be interesting. Of course, Dalvin Cook, now a Jet instead of a Viking. Going to give Mattinson a chance to shine there. You still got Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins throwing the ball. I like the Panthers' chances, though, is in a home game. That's if they can maybe win a couple games early to get some momentum. Could go either way. And then we go up to Detroit, who, beat us in Charlotte in the preseason. That doesn't really matter. They'll be down their top receiver for the first month. But they got, rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of Detroit. Jared Goff coming off a breakout season. That'll be a tough one. Winnable, but, could go either way. A lot of that will depend on which version of the Lions we see. But that's another one. I think the Panthers could steal either one of those. NFC North is one of those divisions we're facing. Going to Miami, however, that next week, that's probably going to be the Dolphins. If Tua is healthy, and even then, Teddy Bridgewater could randomly go off against us. You never know. No, he's with Detroit now, right? I was like, wait, we already saw him once in the preseason. But, if Tua can stay healthy, the Dolphins are a really damn good team. And I don't think the Panthers will win that one. But after that, the Texans come to town, C.J. Stroud, I guess maybe his revenge game. He's going to try to prove that the Panthers should have drafted him. But I think the Panthers win that one. And then, right after that, Anthony Richardson and the Colts come to town. And I think that's another win. So even, if we lose some of these early games, those 2 games give us a chance to kind of get things right a little bit. Because I think being at home, going against other rookie quarterbacks, I like Bryce Young's chances. And I like the chances of the Colts and Panthers game actually being on TV here. It's a 4 o'clock game on CBS. Because, if we're not playing the Falcons, a lot of times the Panthers game's not on anyway. I have to find it on my laptop. So maybe I can actually get off work and watch that one on CBS. And then after that, we got Thursday Night Football in Chicago against DJ Moore and his new quarterback, Justin Fields. I think the Bears win that one. Just because, Justin Fields, I think, is going to have a big season. I think he could be a potential guy like Jalen Hurts was last year that just went, leaps and bounds in his game. We saw a lot of that go last year. Now he's got a top tier receiving threat in DJ Moore. I think they could have a really good season. And being a home game, prime time, DJ Moore, not like he's got any bitterness for the Panthers necessarily, but he wants to show them hey, this could have been you, me winning games for you. And then after that, the Panthers host the Cowboys. So a lot of that depends on what's going on. You really don't know what to expect from the Cowboys. What kind of season is Dak going to be having? Could Trey Lance be the quarterback? But they're not going to happen unless there's some bad stuff happens to Dak. So hopefully that won't. Because Dak, I don't like the Cowboys, but I don't hate Dak. But I would like to think the Panthers win this game. But, that could really go either way. Because, Ezekiel Elliott gone. How's Trey Pollard going to do as, the featured back? Probably pretty good, but I still think that's definitely a game the Panthers have a chance at. And then we go to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Because they got DeAndre Hopkins. They got Derrick Henry. I'm assuming Ryan Tannehill will still be quarterbacking at that point. Could be, who knows? They got, last year's rookie Malik Willis. And then they drafted that the guy who puts mayonnaise in coffee, Will Levine, or something funny. You should say it with an accent. I don't think I've actually heard him talk, but I'm glad we didn't draft him. But he could maybe he'll be the quarterback by then and make the Panthers regret it. You just don't know what's going to be going on in their season. But Derrick Henry, at home, the Titans are probably going to win that one. And then the Panthers 3 games in a row to start the month of December against division rivals, first in Tampa Bay and then in New Orleans. And then they get to host the Falcons, which will be a flex game. And I like our chances playing the Falcons in Charlotte, especially if we lose the first game this week. The Buccaneers are a confusing team. And honestly, I think they're the most likely team for us to sweep in this division this year. We play, all these teams twice. I think the Saints probably going to beat us in New Orleans. And the Bucs, normally going to beat us there, but they don't have Tom Brady anymore. They got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. They're still NFL players, but, and Baker is known to, right when you least expect it, he'll go off. And who knows? He might have, extra energy for the Panthers, even though I don't think he should because they gave him a chance. But sometimes you got to create your own narrative. Michael Jordan get pissed off about nothing just to motivate himself sometimes. Not saying he's Michael Jordan, but he might see himself as Michael Jordan. Michael Mayfield. MJ Mayfield. But I think that's the team we got the best chance to sweep. Though it'll be toughest doing it on the road. But, the Saints probably going to be just in New Orleans. Not very good there. But after the Falcons game, which I think we can win, it's at home. The Panthers close the season with playing the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love in Charlotte. Going to Jacksonville to take on Trevor Lawrence, and then coming back home to finish the season against the Buccaneers in Charlotte. So, honestly, I think that gives the Panthers a chance to go to win 3 out of the last 4 games. Because I think in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is going to win that game. He's full healthy team, Etienne, he's got Calvin Ridley. I think the Jaguars are going to win that one. But the Falcons in Charlotte, the Packers in Charlotte, and the Buccaneers in Charlotte, unless Jordan Love is way better than we expect, I think the Panthers can win these games. And, they could win 3 there. Let's see. There's that one. Let's see how many. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They could. I could see. I think the most likely, is 7 or 8 wins, but 9 and 10 is not out of the realm of possibility. And I know I'm speaking as a fan, probably biased as hell. I know I am. I can't help it. Even when even as much as my teams have disappointed me over there, especially the Panthers and lately the Hawks, it's I still have faith. I have faith this team can do something. They're not gonna go crazy and win. I don't think they'll win more than 10 games, but crazier things have happened. But it's probably 8 or 9 is the most likely total. But the range I'm gonna put on it is 7 or 10. And you win if you win not 10 games. I think wins this division this year. And I don't think this team has a chance at a Super Bowl. But crazier things have happened. Getting to the playoffs is a challenge for a first-year head coach, though. Even with the new team. He's been a head coach before. Maybe he can use some of that experience from losing in Indianapolis. But, there's a lot of games that, if you look at our schedule, it's not crazy to think we could string together some wins. So even if we lose week 1 and week 3, still, I think as long as we can win one of those, Vikings or Lions games. And the Vikings got some damn talent, obviously, but they're not unbeatable. Same with the Lions, especially missing their top receiver for the first 6 games. Dolphins, that's probably a loss. But then right after that, between the Dolphins and the Bears games, which we probably lose, the Texans and the Colts, which will be great for television too, rookie quarterback matchups. But the fact that both games are in Charlotte against, quarterbacks with, the same experience. And a lot of people didn't think weren't for sure Anthony Richardson would start right away going into the draft, but good for him. I'm excited to see what he can do, but hopefully not as much that game. But it feels like there's really only 5 or 6 for sure losses, and then 4 games that could probably be losses, and then some other ones that they should win. The NFC North is not scary, really, to me. Not scary. I shouldn't say that. I think we can win 2 of our games against that division at least. And then I think the Bucs, maybe we actually could sweep them this year. And the Falcons would probably split. Same with the Saints. But if we could sweep at least one team in the NFC South, and then, if we win week 1, and like I said, it's not happened in 21 years. Number 1 pick, debuting like that, but eventually it has to happen, right? You would think. And Bryce Young, maybe, he's got a head on his shoulders as long as he doesn't get it hit around too much. As long as we can block for him, this team's got a chance. And of course tonight, the game to kick everything off is the reigning champion Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Detroit Lions. And the big question for this game is Travis Kelce. It looks like he is going to be literally a game time decision in this one. So that'll be, I still think the Chiefs probably win this game because they still have Patrick Mahomes. He still has some weapons, but that's his favorite weapon. And he's not missed a lot of games over the years, Travis Kelce. So they'll probably try to find a way to get him out there because, it's the first game. And, even if it's in limited capacity, maybe some Travis is better than nothing. But you also don't want him to get hurt, playing when he shouldn't play in week 1, and it ruins the whole season when you could have just waited. Unless the NFL's no, we need him on TV this week. We'd be surprised to do some shit like that behind the scenes. I'm sure they would deny it. But I think without Kelce, the Lions really could potentially get an upset because they don't have Jamison Williams. They still got, St. Brown and, Jahmyr Gibbs running back. They've got some talent, Jared Goff has shown, he ain't no trash. He's not Matthew Stafford because I ain't no trash. And Dan Campbell just gives this team energy, motivates them, gives them a different kind of swag. And he wanted to walk on the sideline with a lion. Like a real lion. The NFL was like, no way, Jose. But, the Lions are going to be a fun team to watch. And I'll root against them except for when they play us. But Kansas City, though, even without Travis Kelce, it's tough to beat the champ. They still have Andy Reid coaching. Pat Mahomes making magic happen. Usually he can find, he can adapt and find a way. But that's going to be a tough one. It's one thing Luke lost Tyreek, but to lose Kelce, that's always, security blanket almost for his whole career. But I still think Kansas City wins, but it's very questionable in my opinion if he ends up missing the game. And, of course, the big thing with them is Chris Jones looking like he's not going to play, still holding out, wants a raise, as he says. Some people see the karma of Kelce getting hurt after he begged Chris Jones to come back regardless of the money stuff. But that can make a difference on defense. He was one of the top defensive players in the game. And the Chiefs, don't have him. Maybe Jared Goff and company are able to do a little more damage. And some of the other games, of course, we already talked about Panthers and Falcons. 49ers taking on the Steelers. Could be an interesting game. Everything going on with the 49ers, all the drama. Trey Lance going to Dallas. Steelers, have showed some growth. Their young receiver, young quarterback. Texans, I feel Steelers are going to win that. It's a home opener. It's they're going to win that one, Mike Tomlin. Texans and Ravens. C.J. Stroud going up against Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's going to be 1-0 this year. Just got paid at home. It's the opener going against a rookie and a team that's just not that good. They got a new head coach, so maybe some new life there for the Texans, but not going to win their opener this year. Bengals going to Cleveland. Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson. The question will be Deshaun Watson, a full season this year, his first full season with the Browns. Is he going to look better? We're going to maybe see a return to how he looked in Houston, because after all the drama and all his case, the sexual assault claims against him and, suspension. And you forget how damn good he was as a quarterback a few years ago before all this shit happened, before he sat out a year and did all this. But I think Joe Burrow, even on the road, they're going to find a way to get the win in that one. Buccaneers take it on the Vikings. That's fitting, because I want both of them see Warriors, and the Vikings at home, they're going to win that one. Jaguars and the Colts hosting Trevor Lawrence to open the season. Division rivalry. I think Anthony Richardson's going to have some fireworks. But the Jaguars, just, Doug Peterson coached, Trevor Lawrence quarterbacked, like I mentioned before, Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne. I believe the Colts going to lose that home opener. Commanders, though, are going to probably beat the Cardinals, because I don't know who the quarterback for the Cardinals is going to be. It's maybe Josh Dobbs, because looking like Kyler Murray not going to be starting out the season healthy. So I think the Commanders are going to win their first game. Magic Johnson probably going to be there, part of the new ownership team. Obviously, Josh Harris, the main owner. But I think they're going to get the home win to open the season for Ron Rivera. And Raiders taking on the Broncos. It's in Denver, so for my friend Zach, I'm going to pick the Broncos, because I don't know what's going on with the Raiders right now. And it's a home game for the Broncos. New coach, maybe the new Russ with the new coach. So Dolphins and Chargers. Ooh, that should be a good matchup. Tua Tagovailoa taking on what's his name? I forget the Chargers quarterback name. I have to look it up. Hate when I do this. There's so many players. Justin Herbert. I knew it was something easy. So that should be a pretty interesting game. In San Diego, in Los Angeles, the Chargers moved. There's not a football team in San Diego. But I don't know, man. I think the Chargers probably find a way, but it could be a big statement, because, Tua, all the doubts around him. I'm changing that. I think the Dolphins are going to win on the road. Statement win to start the season. Tua, Tyreek, going to have a big one. Packers and the Bears. The Bears going to win the home opener. Justin Fields going to account for 3 or 4 touchdowns between the ground and the air. Him and DJ Moore going to have a great debut together. Rams and the Seahawks in Seattle. I don't know, man. Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford. I think the Seahawks are going to win the home opener. Cowboys and Giants in Jersey. Cowboys going to find a way to win this game. And Bills and Jets. Monday. That's when the Braves have a doubleheader against the Mets. Against the Phillies, and then up the road, the Bills and the Jets. Monday Night Football. Josh Allen going to Aaron Rodgers' new house. I am picking the Bills, because I'm just sick of hearing about Aaron Rodgers. I think this Bills team is hungry to go out there and do something. We'll see, though, because Dalvin Cook, see what kind of difference he's able to make for these Jets. I think it'll be a fun game to watch regardless. But I don't know, man. I want to see Allen and Diggs start the season out with a W. And that's the Week 1 NFL preview. So we'll make sure you watch the game tonight. Braves, of course, will be on, trying to actually get a win, avoid the sweep against the Cardinals. I think they'll find a way with Max Fried on the mound to do that. But I also thought that yesterday, so shit, I've been wrong. And then NFL, man, it's really exciting to see NFL starting. I think tonight's game going to, be really important, whether Travis Kelce is able to play and how close to 100% he will be, because not going to be 100% even if he does play. And the Lions, man, can really surprise some people, I believe, even though they're on the road. They still feel like they're not getting the proper attention, the proper due for what they've been able to just do in little batches so far. So I'm picking the Chiefs. But I wouldn't bet against Dan Campbell. I wouldn't bet against this Lions team. I think if they still had Jamal Williams, I would predict them to win. Having him and Gibbs would be nice. I'm still kind of annoyed the Panthers didn't get him. And I'm excited to see what Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and Raheem Blackshear can do running the ball. Something about Jamal Williams, but he's just like a different guy. It seems like a lot of fun, put up some big numbers, and, of course, he's going to the Saints. So him and Kamara are going to be like a team. Well, he'll be the main guy early on. Because Kamara, how many games is he suspended? I just honestly forgot that he was suspended. I believe for like the first one or two games. Yeah, 3 games. So, I like the Panthers' chances a little better week 2. Like I already was picking a win week 2, but I feel like without Alvin Kamara, the Panthers will definitely find a way to win that one. But that final game in New Orleans, even more likely that's a loss because he's going to be like, oh, I didn't play that game. Look at this one. But exciting to see, man, week 1. Guess we can do, yeah, I know we'll talk more about college. I'll try to talk about college football tomorrow afterward. We'll see how that goes because I know what is Appalachian State get a chance to upset a ranked team. I'm going to watch that on Saturday. North Carolina, number 17. Most of the ranked teams ain't really playing anybody yet. 22 Colorado hosting Matt Rule in Nebraska. You know, some annoying people apparently rooting for Nebraska. I mean, if you're a Nebraska fan, that's fine. But if you're just rooting against Deion Sanders, fuck you. Deion Sanders is awesome. And he's always been one of my early sports memories. Remember him doing like double duty kind of thing with Braves and the Falcons. Loved watching him with the Niners, even though that was just like a year. Played with Washington. He's such a fun player to watch. A cool personality. And what he did, you know, making Jackson State, like, you know, not just getting them attention, which is what most people focused on, but, winning games. And then people didn't think he'd be able to win at Colorado. But I've been saying, I think they legitimately could win the Pac-12 this year. Like, yeah, that's going to be different. You know, USC probably going to be tougher than TCU, but still TCU was ranked. You know, even though they lost their quarterback, they were still the national runner-ups. Georgia kicked their ass, but they were still, you know, technically the second best team in college football last year. And, you know, they definitely are really good at home. And for Deion to do Coach Prime to go in to their home and do that, to win back and forth, his son, the quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, like establishing himself as a Heisman candidate. Travis Hunter, wide receiver / quarterback, just like Deion, just like Coach Deion Prime Sanders, like coming over with him from Jackson State, despite a lot of people offering a lot of money to try to get him to go somewhere else out the portal. But it ain't just about the money. Everybody wants to talk about the money, but like this guy, he's a leader, and you know, like people are gonna listen to him. In college football, a lot of it is just getting your kid, you know, football in general, but especially college, like getting these kids to fight for you, making them believe. And he's obviously done that. And then on the other side, well, couldn't have like a bigger difference in personalities. Matt Rule and Coach Deion Sanders. Matt Rule, like one of the biggest mistakes the Panthers have ever made. Maybe other than George Seifert, but at least George Seifert had that track record. But with Matt Rule, it was just like, I don't know, which, you know, it was the first major decision for David Tepper, so you can't get him all right. I think he was trying to find the next hot college coach, but the problem is Matt Rule is he's just a good college coach. Like, I don't think we're going to see Matt Rule as an NFL coach again. I mean, he's going to stay in college. He'll probably be the kind of guy that coaches Nebraska for the next 20 years. But I do remember when this was an actual rivalry game. Like when I was a kid, it was when they were in the Big 8. Of course, Nebraska's now in the Big 10. Colorado in their last season in the Pac-12 before going to the Big 12, of course, which used to be the Big 8. But these teams both, when Nebraska was like sharing national titles and competing back in the day, like on the regular. It's easy to forget that now. So what they're trying to return to with Matt Rule. And I think Matt Rule did decent there, but I don't see Colorado losing a home game. From what we've seen at Matt Rule, like in pressure situations, he's going, I mean, yeah, college football is more his element, but going in to that stadium in Colorado after that team just like had such a huge win on the road, already matching their win total for last season. So you're going to have Matt Rule going into like a sold out, loud as hell, like NFL type environment. Like he's going to, the Coach Prime's going 2-0. The question will be, can Dabo Swinney, I'm sure, they just lost to Duke in football, not basketball. But they're going up against Charleston Southern, so they'll probably win this one. Number 2, Michigan, a big test against UNLV. Tennessee playing Austin Peay. Alabama, Alabama's playing a ranked team. They're going up. They're number 3 taking on number 11, Texas. So that'll be an interesting game Saturday night. And Stanford and USC. That'll be the game I am not watching Saturday night because it starts at 10:30. Still weird getting used to working days. Like going to bed early, waking up really early. Like I couldn't even sleep in today. I was like, I'm going to sleep in. It did not work. I was up at 6. Like I made myself go back to sleep a couple times before that too. But either way, that's going to be it for today. Kind of a long episode. Wanted to talk about football and kind of meandering through it all since it was a little bit of a freestyle because I'm not writing anything down for the next few days just to give my hand and wrist a break from the pain and the anguish. But, hopefully not too much pain and anguish coming up for my Braves and my Panthers. It's a weird combination of teams. Supposed to be talking about the Falcons. I'm in Atlanta, but I'm not a Falcons fan. I did root for the Dirty Birds. And Jamal Anderson, I wanted to see them do that, but something about the division rivalry getting more real when I moved here, working in the sports bar, seeing how terrible Falcons fans are. Either way, except for you that's listening, you're the exception. You're the great Falcons fan. The rest of them are bad. But you're all right, whoever you are listening. Thank you for listening. If you are, make sure you subscribe on Spotify. Follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to get better at posting, but I kind of hate social media, so there's that. But either way, that's Babbling Brooks 84. You'll at least see in my story when they get a new episode. And eventually I'll start trying to post more. I think once I get settled into the schedule a little more, maybe I'll get better at that. But thank you for listening. Thank you for helping me keep growing, keep getting better and better. And I think that's what happens as I do this more, getting more practice. I think I like talking. Hopefully there are those of you that like to listen and will tell your friends and listen more and more. But having said all that, come back for more Babbling Brooks. Probably tomorrow, definitely Saturday, or probably tomorrow. I'm going to try to do an episode after work tomorrow. Try to make myself do it. I get done at 4, so I should be able to. Either way, hope y'all have a great night. Come back for more, watch that football, and come back for my take on the opening game and the Braves' final game of this series against the Cardinals. Thanks for listening to your new favorite podcast, Babbling Brooks. Peace out.